This week's episode is brought to you by the Duchess, who suggested the featured movie on our Facebook page. Thanks, Duchess. We appreciate the movie suggestion. If you have a movie you'd like us to cover on the show, we're going to tell you how you can do that at the end of the episode. Guys, I just need to apologize beforehand. I have been very sick for the past week, and I'm sounding even worse than usual. I've been feeling so terrible. My voice has been all weird. And I debated whether or not I was going to record tonight, but I did decide to push through, and hopefully I sound at least semi-coherent throughout this thing. I really have no idea. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to listen to it myself just to see how bad I actually sounded. But anyway, I hope it won't be too bad, and I hope you guys enjoy, and let's see what happens. So anyway, it's time to begin. My name is Sheldon, and this is The Graveyard Shift, horror with Sheldon and Mike. Welcome to episode 34 of The Graveyard Shift, where each week we watch a movie from the horror category and break it down into the good, the bad, and sometimes the downright confusing. We'll talk about the plot, some production details, and anything else we think is fun or relevant. Be warned, there will be spoilers, and I'm sick as fuck, so that'll be fun. And yes, I said we. Please say hello to the guy that's always willing to take a sexually transmitted curse off your hands, ladies. My co-host, Mike.
Hey, ladies.
And how are you today, my friend?
Pretty darn good. I've been through a bit of a mental slump, as you can tell from our Puppet Master episode, but I feel like I've regained my alertness and my productivity, and I'm ready to rip, roar, and tear into this episode.
Well, that's good because, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to do this tonight. You can probably hear it. I'm probably sounding even worse than usual. I've been sick like you wouldn't believe for the past week. So, literally, I got sick just after we recorded our last episode. And I'm still, not feeling great, a week later when we're recording this one. So, but I'm going to pull through. I've got way more meds in me than I should. And let's see if that helps or just makes things worse or hilariously better.
At least if you can remain unconscious through the suffering. It's like, if a man dies during a cold, is he really suffering anymore?
True. Mike, we are blazing through January. Or I should say we have blazed through January, seeing as this is our final episode for the month.
Yep.
2018 is already 1/12 done. That's pretty amazing. So, soon it's going to be February. We have to think about a Valentine's Day episode. It's crazy. But that's going to...
Time keeps on slipping into the future.
But that's going to be soon enough. Right now, we have this episode to bang out, so... bang out. So why don't you tell everyone what we have for them this week?
Today's episode is... Insert your own STD joke here, because we watched It Follows.
We did. As I said earlier, this was a suggestion from the Duchess, who really likes this movie and wanted to know what we thought of it. So, Mike, without going into detail just yet, what did we think of it?
I freaking loved it. Enjoyed it. It's an excellent movie.
Mm-hmm. I liked it. I had known about it for a while. I was glad to finally get a chance to watch it. Simple but good. All around solid movie. Nothing that's going to blow anyone away, but it's certainly decent enough.
I was very not disappointed, despite the fact that it was not the sequel to Pennywise that I expected.
Yeah, it's I know. As soon as you see that the big it in the title, this is immediately what your mind goes to. But nothing to do with the Stephen King movie, and good for them. But before we start talking about
if Stephen King was behind this, those sex scenes would be fucked up.
They would. Before we start talking about the good and the bad, here is a little info on It Follows. Released on March 13th, 2015, It Follows is an American supernatural psychological horror film Written and directed by David Robert Michael, and no, that's not three different guys, it's just one. It had a budget of $2 million and had a box office return of about $20.6 million. So that's not too shabby.
A 10 times return? Pretty darn good.
It is.
I expect it should have been higher, though, because this was a good caliber movie.
It's a very selective audience.
Or, I never did see commercials for it, so maybe it only suffered from marketing.
Maybe. I don't think I saw commercials for it. I just heard through word of mouth, pretty much.
Yeah, so that's pretty impressive considering it had, no marketing budget.
Mm-hmm. It has a runtime of 94 minutes, has been rated R for disturbing, violent, and sexual content, which, in my opinion, there's really not a lot of either. It has a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 97% and an audience score of 66%, which is odd. My score is somewhere in between the two. I've said it many times, which now I don't. I used to think that there was always a big difference with horror movies. Like, usually the audience is a little more lenient on a horror movie than critics are. But I'm starting to see quite a few examples now where, there's certain horror movies where the critics are the ones giving it the praise more so than the audience. Anyway, as for the plot, a young woman is followed by an unknown supernatural force after a sexual encounter. She must try to survive as the murderous entity comes after her and anyone else infected. So, I'm looking forward to talking about this one, so let's get going. We're going to start with the good, and like always, Mike, you get the first word in. Tell me something you liked about this one.
I enjoyed the dialogue between these people. It seemed respectable, believable, and downright funny. Like, one point a girl's talking with, I don't know if it's her friend or her sister, but she says, I've got an idea. And then she, farts and says, I guess it got away. and then the sister of the girl who's being followed by this thing just says something, her friend tells her something like, your sister is so pretty it's annoying. Oh, I know.
I know how she feels. Yeah, but the first thing I had on my list, it kind of ties in with what you said, that the dialogue was good, and I said the acting was well done. All the actors are relatively unknown, but it was a solid cast all around. Nothing to complain about in that regard.
Yeah, I believed I was seeing these characters reacting to their situations as they should, rather than shitty actors not obeying instructions.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess a second is the fact that it seems to adapt. At the end, they spring this trap, and it sees it. It gets that it's a trap. They line the swimming pool filled with electronic devices that they're going to throw in to electrocute the pool. It just grabs the items and throws them at the girl who's in the pool as bait.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, the fact that it's not just some mindless thing. It can think. We don't know anything about it, but we know that it can think.
Mm-hmm. I'll add a little to that, but later.
Sure.
So one of the things that I thought was good about this was just the story. It's a very unique story. I've never heard of a movie having a sexually transmitted curse before, at least not in that way. It had an old type of feel to it in the sense that the monster, for lack of a better word, was a slow-moving apparition that only the victim could see. I like that. It feels like they took something that sounds almost medieval and put it in a movie set in, and I'm going to put this in quotations, modern times. And
it is a fantastic concept.
Yeah.
And it was executed properly.
And I guess I put modern times in quotations because I got to say something about that in a little while as well. But
yeah, reminiscent of the 80s and 70s morality horrors.
Yeah, but
where it's you deserve to die because you broke God's law. you did something unvirtuous.
Well, not so much that, but like I said, I'll talk about that later, but in a different segment. But yeah, it was just story itself. It was very nice, and I don't mean nice in the sense people are dying horribly, but it was good to see something that felt fresh.
Sexually active teenagers getting what they deserve. That's what you were behind. I know.
Yeah, well, that certainly is not unique to horror movies, but done in this fashion was unique.
Yeah, taking that aspect that's predominant in so many classic horror movies and giving it a refreshing twist like this, I have to applaud. They did it right. Like if you're going to punish teenagers for sex, what if that reasoning wasn't in the case of like, ooh, some monster saw them and decided they had to go, but what if like the act of sex had like a visible, tangible consequence that would follow them.
Yeah.
And that was pretty darn awesome. And I guess what I have to throw in as nearing the end of my likes is the music.
Oh, yeah.
It was just chilling, suspenseful. Sometimes it would lead you down a detour, and it would just be like the music builds up to a crescendo and then nothing, and then bam, quick music sting.
Yeah. The music was like fucking like 80s synth pop on acid. So
it's like 80s ambient music.
Yeah, it was good. Like it was much like it really did suit the tone of the movie itself. So great music choice. Next on my list for the good, the monster. What makes it especially terrifying is for the victim is that only they can see it, or the people around them can still interact with it. Like they can hit it, see it knock things over, but they can't actually see it. Only the people infected can. And I think having it look like a normal person, but looking like a different person each time you see it was pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, that was just an excellent execution, because for the first part of it, you wonder, like, is this just like some, like you said, it was a psychological horror, which kind of misleads you into thinking that, it's just a hallucination. It's just mind over matter, that they're being told this thing, and because they believe it, it exists.
Yeah.
But then when the guy hits it, and the chair bounces off of it, and it throws a guy away, then you're just like, oh shit, it's not just some psychological manifestation. It's an actual invisible fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't just like a ghost where, like, he takes a swing at it with the chair and it just passes through it. Like, it is a physical object that they just can't see. So, yeah, it's, that was done really well. I like that. So it kind of ties in with what I said about the unique story, but I think it was... I had to separate them into two different things. So, anything else in the good for you?
Well, the movie has tits, but I wouldn't call them good, since they're usually attached to a absolutely horrifying lady.
Oh,
so,
that's just not right.
Hey, the fact that, like, she can, like, slowly walk to you while pissing herself, that is, like... That takes away the sexy, so...
Oh, depends on what you're into.
Boobies are in this movie, but they're not on my like list.
Okay, well, the next thing I had on my for the good was it raises a question, kind of a morality question. It raises a question of what you would do in a situation. I mean, morally, most people wouldn't want to pass the curse on to someone else, but not doing so means you've condemned yourself and anyone else down the chain to death. So really, you're not...
You're saving other lives as well as your own.
Yeah, but still, then you're getting someone else involved in this thing as well. I don't know how...
If you do your job and teach them, then you are, in a way, saving their life. Although you're just really putting more people in jeopardy. It is a moral quagmire, even with the sex taken out of it.
Yeah. And then you've got, like, the situation of, like, this guy that passed it to, I can't even remember her name, but the lead character, was it Jay, I think? The guy that...
I really can't remember.
The guy that passed it to her, the main character.
Sorry.
Yeah, the main character, anyway.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, we're cutting that shit out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So the lead character, anyway, I think her name was Jay. The guy that passed it to her. I mean, he's a piece of shit. Yes, because you only pass it on to somebody. Now you got them involved, but then again, I mean, like, he is trying to. I mean, how do you react when you know your life is in danger like that? I mean, sometimes people do desperate things, and then he's thinking about, like, oh, is it going to kill the people that pass it on to me? And I don't know. I don't know what I would do in a situation like that. I'd probably try to move very far away, somewhere where it'd take years for it to walk to, because it just, like, kind of walks slowly. But
yeah, well, if you're rich enough, you can, like, fly to Europe. And then just wonder, like, is it going to get on a plane, or is it just going to walk under the ocean?
Yeah. I like to watch it. Like, I would try to have fun with it, too. Like, try to do the whole, when someone tries to get in your car and you give it a little bit of gas and pull away, like, a couple feet and stop.
Or just, like, bump into it with the car and then, like, try to skin it under just spin your tire over it.
Be interesting to see how. I'd be curious to know how I would, me or you would handle a situation like that.
I'd work on different experiments to kill it.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of guy that runs away from my problems when I can, like, murder them without consequence.
Oh, so, and I got to mention this, and I put it in the good. The filmmakers set a very surreal environment because it's set in modern times. And, like, going back to my my air quotes earlier, it's set in modern times. Well, it's set in 2014 anyway, but it's everything's kind of off. Like, the cars you see in the film look like they're in new condition, but they look like, a lot of them look like they're out of the 80s and 90s. The first victim you see has a cell phone. But then you see people using old school corded phones, like not even like cordless phones that people would still have in their homes. Because, I mean, I think a lot of people no longer have home phones anyway. But, like, the ones you saw, they were corded phones.
And then that lady, the nerdy little sister, reading on a clamshell Kindle, which I had never seen before.
It doesn't exist. And I was going to put that in a different category. So thanks a lot for that, jerk. But yeah, I might as well bring it up now that you've mentioned it. She's using this clamshell e-reader that does not exist, and if it did, who would want that?
Oh, it's such a terrible concept.
So that's a weird thing, and then there's, like, not all the appliances look really old. Everyone's TV set that you see is a really old, like, tube TV. Everyone's house inside, the interiors are all very retro looking. And then there's something else I noticed. There's the weird season they're in. Because we see Jay, I'm sure her name is Jay, swimming in a backyard pool in a few scenes. But in the same scene, other people are wearing winter coats, and there's dead leaves all over the ground. Later, they're at the beach on what seems to be like a warm summer's day. And it's all really weird. Like, it's all very surreal and I almost want to say it's almost dreamlike. Where when you're dreaming, even some things that you're dreaming about, like that, are more based in reality. You have dreams that are more based in reality, but there's always when you think about it afterwards, there's always some weird shit going on.
Yeah, like when you have a dream of something going on in your house and you're just like, that's not what my upstairs looks like.
Exactly. And you don't really notice it until you start waking up. So I just had to make note of that, and I was going to put it in like our newest category, because we do a category called What the Fuck, which is where we put all this weird, confusing things or stuff that just came out of nowhere and caught us off guard. And I was going to put it there, but I decided to put it into good because this is a very surreal type of movie, so it kind of made sense to do weird stuff like this. So, yeah, that was it. The clamshell e-reader, I was going to put that in the what the fuck column, because I'm like, I had no explanation for that other than Like, it's one thing to have, like, the technology and things seems out of place and all this stuff, but then, like, there's this piece of technology that doesn't exist and would be the most impractical thing ever, like this dual screen e-reader, and each screen's only, like, what, like...
It's a circular reader, too. Like, who the hell would read a circular screen? But then again, that may have been a response to to that stupid Apple Watch thing. Like, everyone wants to read technology on a tiny little circle, so why don't we give them two circles?
But, was it two circles? I thought it was two square screens on it.
No, it's a clamshell, so the clams are round.
No, but I know the clam is clamshell shaped, but I think that was its casing. I think the screens inside were actually square.
No.
Okay.
No. They didn't have any, like, extra space. Like, the entire reader was in the shape of the clam. I paid attention to that.
Okay, well, that's, yeah, so that, I thought it was good. I thought that added, like I said, just a surreal quality to it. And, yeah, that's it. And the only other thing that I want to say about The Good was just the gorgeous cinematography. The movie's just shot beautifully. It's so nice to look at. They've got some very long panning shots, and then just some close-ups put in, and I just like the overall look of it. It was very, very easy on the eyes, I guess is the best way I can say it. And that is all my entries for The Good. Did you have anything else to add, or shall we move on?
Yeah, I'm good for the goods. Like, I'm just looking over the screenshots I sent you. The first time we see it's completely naked, and it's kind of okay. But then as we see it later on, it seems to gain more clothing and less teeth. So at first it looks like some lady who just like went skinny dipping and got lost. But then when we see her in the kitchen, she starts looking like a resident of Kentucky.
It's not the same person, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was... Well, from a distance, anyway. Oh, and I did get to look at that clamshell reader. It's kind of a compromise. Like, the whole screen is like a background color, but the reading area is a square.
Maybe that's what I saw. Anyway, it's either way, it doesn't really exist, and it would be the stupidest thing ever if it did. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I like that the monster would look different, and I looked it up because at first I was thinking that the entity or what monster, the demon, whatever you want to call it, probably looked like everyone that has been infected with the curse, like the people that you see it. But then I realized, like afterwards, that can't be the case. So I looked into it, and the director said no, it pretty much looks like it could look like anybody that's ever been affected. It could look like them, or even just people that they know. So it's almost unlimitless, like who it could look like.
You think that if it wanted to be really effective, it would just look like Andre the Giant. That way you hit it with a chair, and it would just look at you like, "You want a peanut?"
Well, it could be more sneaky too. Like, just look like somebody that's like fully clothed, instead. Because like if it's somebody that's fully clothed and like looking normal, then it's going to get a chance to sneak up on me. If I see like somebody that's like absolutely naked, or even just wearing something that is not appropriate for the area that I'm in, I'm going to think something's up. I'm going to know right away that it's coming after me.
If you're a naked man standing on my roof, I'm going to fuck off.
Don't act like you've never had naked men standing on your roof before. Yeah, you've actually probably been the naked man standing on your roof. So.
It's like, yeah, quit stealing my hobby. Yeah, so I'm ready to go for the bads if we have any complaints.
I do. There's a few things I had to list out. Because while I did enjoy this, it wasn't without some flaws. And so you start off with the good, I'll start off with the bad. And this, I'm not putting this in the bad column for myself necessarily, but I just know that I'm trying to be, a little bit, I want to say diverse, but that's not it. I want to make sure that everybody's listening to them. And I know this stuff is just our own opinions, but also just in case this is not your type of thing, this is for you. This movie is a slow burn. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but I can understand some people not liking it. If you prefer your horror movies fast-paced, action-packed, and gore-filled, then this is not going to be the one for you. So just a little warning if you're going into it, don't... Because we like this movie, I don't want people saying, oh, this movie sucked, it was so slow. And it's like, yeah, it is kind of slow. Even though it's not a long movie, it's only 94 minutes, it is a slow movie. And to me, sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's lots of slow movies out there that I've enjoyed quite well. And I don't necessarily think that this one should have been cut down. I don't think there's anything really that wasn't necessary.
It made good use of its downtime.
Yeah, I think there's probably only even one scene that I think could have been cut and not done anything to the movie. But that's a minor thing. And yeah, so that's all. That's what I got to say about that. It's just that this is not... Be in a state of mind for it. Like, be prepared that, like, be in the right frame of mind that you're going to be watching a slower paced movie.
Yeah, it takes time to build suspense and develop characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so that you gain, like, more insight onto them, or, that you get to see their genuine reactions to the situation they're in, which would be more than just, like, one simple line of dialogue. It's like, sitting and thinking about it, like being affected.
That's right. So what do you have for the bad?
Only in America would their plan to kill the monster work, where it comes to just shooting it in the head. Because, like, only in America could you get a gun on such short notice.
But I could get a gun short notice. But,
Because I just thought, like, in Canada, we would have to, like, just push it in the pool, fry it, and then, like, skim the pool and then chop it into pieces. Like, I just felt like they left too much to chance. Like, they've shot it before, and it's shown that it can withstand a bullet or two.
I'm glad you said that, because the next thing I have on my list for the bad, and this is a huge spoiler here, but we've already kind of gone into that territory anyway. Why did the characters think they could kill the thing?
Well, shit, that's what I would do. I mean, like, I would not want to live... like, always looking over my shoulder and then end up, like, being in a gas station taking a shit and then it kicks in the door. Like, I would face this thing.
It would be like a Zombieland thing where it just, like, comes underneath the stall and get you.
I could not live in that constant state of fear and alertness.
Yeah. But
I would go after it.
The reason I said is, like, why do you think they could kill it? Is because it got up perfectly fine. Like, it was fine after being shot in the neck. Like, if they shot it in the neck, it fell down, then got back up. But they thought they could electrocute it?
It's at least worth a shot. Like, even if you stun it, then you could at least, what I would do is follow up, like, get the body, chop it up into pieces while it's stunned. Like, even if it's only temporary, you can kill it by chopping it up into pieces. Like, be as thorough as fucking possible. You chop it up into pieces, throw those pieces into furnaces and fires, disintegrate them into ashes. Like, if you have this thing down for any moment, like, do not give it time to recover. Be as thorough as fuck. Like, just assume that this thing is next to indestructible and be next to ultimate destruction.
Well, here's the thing, too, about killing it. They did no research into trying to find out what it was. They didn't look it up and think that, like, hey, if this thing exists, then maybe there's some kind of record of, like, some stories passed down, some folklore about something like this.
They don't even have a name to begin to look.
Yeah. They did no research into trying to find out what it was or anything like that, but all of a sudden they just came up with this big plan to lead it into a pool and electrocute it.
Well, again, you don't even have a name to go on to look up. I mean, like, you're just going to go through every book thinking that, maybe it will mention invisible sex monster?
Well, you could look up, like, ancient curses, anything. I mean, Jesus Christ, they've got, like, fictional e-readers there. I'm pretty sure they must have had something they could have researched something with.
Well, I guess if they had, like, any name to go on, but it's because if it's an anonymity that they were, like, really pressed and alone So, yeah, I would definitely look for, like, if a bullet wouldn't stop it, I would definitely try to at least stun it with electricity and then mutilate the fuck out of it
Yeah.
while, like, instantly. Like, don't give it a moment to catch up. But I've got... I can expound on this just a bit more in the what the fucks, but I can wait.
Okay. Something else I had on for the bad is the monster speed seemed inconsistent. Most of the time, it seemed like it just crept along very slowly, taking baby steps, sort of. But then when it took the form of Greg, it seemed to have a much faster gait. And when they all drove to Greg's cottage, I don't know how far away it was, but it seemed like they drove for a while. Like they at least drove all night, it seemed like. It was
I assume that it took several days to catch up. Like, they
well,
were
that's the
chilling
thing.
for
Like,
a day or two.
maybe that's it. But like, to me, it seemed like they drove all night, and I was thinking it was the same day. And they left driving in. It was dark when they were driving. When they got there, it was daylight. And then I just thought it was the same day when they were chilling on the beach, and all of a sudden the thing just shows up. Like, did it hitchhike, or what the hell happened there?
I imagine that they were there for like a couple of weeks, or
Really?
the fact that this thing could hitchhike. I mean, think about it. It could get in the back of anybody's car.
It climbed up on the roof of a house, so I guess I could climb it like in the back of a truck or something.
Yeah, it could just stand. It could just just sit on the hood of a car.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could drive with this thing sitting on your car. You wouldn't know.
And you put this in the good, but I'm going to put it in the bad. Because speaking of inconsistencies, the pool scene, throughout the rest of the movie, the monster slowly stalked its victims with, the point seemed to be, don't let it touch you. But then all of a sudden it gets more aggressive, like you said about now it's throwing stuff. At the end, because at the end it starts throwing things at Jay. Was it because they set a trap for it? We don't know, but it felt to me that the movie broke its own rules there.
I think the fact that the monster did use a tool before. What was Greg the guy she fucked?
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it went to Greg's house, it used a rock and smashed the window.
Yeah, that's right. It did smash out a window, and
So
it
it is
did
capable
break.
of using
And it did
tools.
break the window in the first time that she sees it coming after her. Not when the guy had her tied up at the beginning, not the guy that passed it to her, but when she was in her friend's house.
Yeah. Yeah, it did, because that's when she found it in the kitchen, because
Yeah.
someone just said, a window got smashed. So, yeah, it is capable of breaking things and making an entrance.
Yeah.
So, it is aware of its limitations. So, that's what made it a bit more cunning, that, it will use tools if necessary.
Yeah, I don't know. I still just rather if he just kept it I can understand maybe breaking window, but then throwing stuff directly at the victim. I don't know. It just didn't. It just seemed out of place to me. It stood out from the rest of the movie. It just kind of stuck out to me. I didn't like it.
I don't know. I like the fact that it knew really, you're trying to get me in the pool with all this electricity? Fuck you. Fuck you.
But anyway, that's all I have for the bad. Did you have anything else to add?
No, so I guess we can transition to the what the fucks, which
Yeah.
kind of is part 2 of one of my bad points. So again, the guy's just got the gun and he's shooting blind. He actually hits the lady. Who is this girl with the glasses? Is it just one of their annoying friends, or is it the younger sister of Blonde Babe?
It's just one of their friends, I think.
Yeah, so Paul ends up shooting blindly, clipping her. And I just think that, why? What the fuck is going on here? They are dealing with something invisible, and they are using line of sight weapons to deal with this thing. The first thing you have to do is see it. So why not bring cans of spray paint?
Exactly.
The second she says, it's over there, just throw... Well, you don't throw anything, but you just, walk up, spraying, and then, you can see its form.
Anything.
And then you can take baseball bats, hatchets. Once you see what you're dealing with, fine. And if it dives into the pool to get out, to, get the paint off, that's when you throw all the tools in there and just fry the fuck out of the pool. But paint your target first, and then Then you can see what you're dealing with here. But no, she ends up like flailing a bed sheet and lucks out and gets it. Then the guy walks up and shoots it in the head. But, spray paint cans would have been a necessity. And like leave like, I don't know, Cheeto dust or something, like something on the ground so you can see its footsteps. Like we've seen movies with invisible men in it, and there are ways to track these things.
Of course. They're in a pool, splash water around the sides. You would have saw footprints in the water, like around the edges of the pool, like anything. Yeah, they weren't very smart. So, well, I did have something for the what the fuck, but we already talked about it. The e-reader was like that. Just like I said, everything else seemed to be built up. Like all this weird stuff seemed to be made to make it like this surreal, dreamlike type of atmosphere, but that clamshell e-reader, I don't know what the hell that was. But anyway, that pretty much like that was it for the good, the bad, and the what the fuck. What did you think of the ending?
I think it was really neat to see the struggle in the pool, and
no, I don't mean
really
that.
Stupid. The guy shooting bullets into the pool.
Yeah, no. When I said the ending, I mean like after the pool scene.
Oh, when she decides to, like, she can finally get some safe nookie.
But you know that the thing is not dead, right? You do see it afterwards.
Well, we see a person. So we end up... I tend to think that, they're being followed. They're not being followed. There's just somebody behind them, and it's left to us to think, oh, it may still be there. But we don't see it do anything definitive to show that it is, in fact, still there.
According to the director, it's still there. They didn't kill it. You can't kill it, apparently.
But there was so much blood in the pool. It wasn't just like a trickle anymore. This was just like all of its blood is now outside.
And do you notice that at the last form we see it in is of her dad?
The thing, I thought it was like a football player walking behind them.
No, not that last scene in the pool. The form we see it, we see when she sees it as this guy, whatever it is. We see it afterwards. You see a family picture, and the same guy, the last form that the monster took, was of the guy in the family picture, which we assume is her dad.
Huh? Never made that connection. I always thought it was strangers. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention.
Mm-hmm.
I was paying attention to everything else, but.
Yeah, and. Yeah, so, well, that's what I read anyway, like, with some stuff with the director. He says that, like, they, it's still something that they have to live with. Like, with this thing following them.
Huh, well, it looks like their guard is down, so they won't be living for long.
So, guys, oh, wow,
I guess, like, there's one thing I could throw in about this movie, like, the best thing you could really do is, like, make a porno movie. Because that way, the way that all those people are banging, this thing would just be wandering around Southern California, just walking around in circles. Just be like, okay, now wait, nope, now I gotta turn left, up, nope, okay, turn right, okay, nope, okay, nope. Like, this thing would just be standing around, spinning around, confused, desperately pondering its life choice to kill sex people. So... that would be a great way, because nobody would die. Everyone would just be passing it along, and with such frequency that this thing would never get to kill anybody. Problem solved.
Or just, everyone's in close proximity, and it just, like, kills, like, every single porn actor in Hollywood. Oh, it reminds me. Like, I was just going to say,
I don't think they're living in a commune. I think they're spaced out enough.
How does an orgy work anyway? Because, okay... There's one scene, remember the scene when she swims, this is just after Greg got killed and she drives away, she wakes up, she's at the beach, and she sees these three guys in the boat.
Yeah, I thought she was going to go bang them in the boat and then...
Well, she starts swimming out to the boat. Did she just go and just, like, kill those guys?
I think she just went up for a swim. I thought she was going to take the boat and go to Mexico.
See, my thought was she's going to swim out to the boat, she's going to have sex with these guys, and then leave. So that thing has to go all the way, to get these guys wherever they are. and
going
then
back to Florida or
and
something.
if it ends up killing them, then it has to walk all the way back to get her. But then it seems like it shows up too fast. Again, we see the entity too fast for that to have happened. I don't know. Like, it's weird. It's kind of left up to us. We don't know because you see her start to swim towards the boat, but you don't know what happens. Then you see her driving in her car, so you don't know if she actually did that or she changed her. She was thinking about it and then changed her mind.
And is it only heterosexual sex? Like, if she makes out with a girl and gets fingered outside in the back, like, does that is the girl being followed now, or like is it only like peen and vagine? Like,
can we have one episode where you don't talk about someone getting fingered? Jesus. Yeah, it really does. Like it.
Does it matter if you use rubbers or not?
Who knows? It's starting to sound like more like we like. Honestly, it almost sounds like we need like a sex ed PSA or something about this.
Funny you say that.
Is it?
I was actually looking at the DVD of this, and it turns out there was a deleted scene. I guess it was something that was going to be watched later on by one of the characters. It's sort of like a PSA just to show in some archive like how long this thing has existed. Like, it's not just some new thing that was made in a lab. That apparently it's been wandering around America for quite some time. And in fact, people did try to warn each other about it, but then they just forgot about it. But no, I found this little extra piece of lore on this week's It Came from the Cutting Room Floor. Welcome to today's lesson, Sexual Education and You. Meet Tommy, a strapping young American teenager filled with potential. Tommy is undergoing puberty and has begun to feel things that are perfectly natural. Tommy is looking at Beth, a kind, sweet, nice-looking girl, but even the prettiest rose can have hidden thorns.
What? She's like really soft and smells nice. It's not wrong to want to get close, right?
Oh, Tommy, you're right, yet so naive. We're here to learn about sexually transmitted disease. So many dangers lurk beneath the surface. Now you can't tell from looking, and even I can't say if she's got anything, but you need to learn how to be careful just in case.
Well, golly, what's the worst that could happen? She doesn't look like she's got a runny nose or a cough.
Oh, Tommy, your innocence, while charming, can lead you into trouble. Sexual disease is not like that. You can't see symptoms in the early stages, but they can still be spread. Back in the good old days, women used to remain chaste until marriage, guaranteeing their safety for men like you. But now, even without being a burlesque dancer or meeting jazz musicians, girls like Beth could have gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes, and most dangerous of all, a case of it.
What is it?
While most other STDs can be diagnosed by qualified physicians, it is still not in the Journal of Medicine just yet, but fortunately enough, might be the easiest for laymen such as you to detect, though each of these symptoms can be confused for something else.
Gee whiz, how do I know?
Well, if you notice Beth looking over her shoulder a lot, asking if you can see people, or she just runs off screaming for no apparent reason, she's either got a case of it, or her uterus has turned on her and given her a case of hysteria. Either way, stay alert and watch for other signs.
Such as?
Well, this may seem counterproductive, but if Beth wants to go to make-out point with you, and she wants to do more than make out, you first have to ask why. She might really like you and think you're just a swell fella. But this should stand out because women are usually afraid to engage in this kind of behavior thanks to our media doing its job and telling them the shame and stigma that will await them. If she don't care, you better beware. She could be passing it to you.
Gosh, I noticed Beth muttering to herself when she thinks she's alone. Do you think she's talking to it?
Well, it could be, or she's making contact with Mother Russia. So you better keep close, learn what you can, but don't make mistakes that could jeopardize your health or the nation's.
Oh, crackers! That sounds terrifying. Maybe I should spend time with Peggy instead.
Well, that's the thing. The same precautions apply to Peggy. Any woman who has foregone her virtue could have it. Now, it might be your problem. So watch out for the signs and...
Hey, maybe I should hang out with Jeremy.
No.
If any girl can have it, then guys that don't mess with them should...
Oh, you'd be safe from it for sure.
Finally, a safe.
You'll just go to hell.
Ah, shucks.
well, there you have it. There you have it. So, yeah, this thing existed in their universe for a while.
Yeah, and they tried to take as many precautions as they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, guys, that is It Follows, and overall, I certainly do recommend it. I liked it. It was a nice change of pace from the other things we've been watching lately. Not a fast-paced movie, like I said earlier, but I certainly enjoyed it. I said on Rotten Tomatoes the critic score was like in the 90% percentile. The audience score was in the 60 percentile. I give it somewhere between. I'd give it a solid 80.
Yeah, me too. 80%. Like, there were some slow parts, and I would have liked to have, just the nerd in me would like to know what are the rules and limitations, the age of this thing, its genesis, did it have a name, like what created this thing? I need more lore.
They need it. You're kind of you want it like the horror movie trope where they find some kind of expert on it that could tell them all the details, right?
Yeah, like I don't know, like Sue Johansson or something. It's like It's a sex monster, so they go to the sex expert.
Yeah, well, that would be different for sure. So, guys, let us know what you thought.
She'd be like, "It? I haven't heard that name in a long time."
Mm-hmm. So, Mike, you got a couple of options here. I got a feeling I know what one you're going to go for, but I'm not going to say what I think it is because maybe I'll be surprised. But I want to know what you've got for your segment.
Oh, you mean my kill of the week? Well, as I sent you a screenshot of the first kill we see in this movie, I first thought I downloaded the Tonya Harding story because we get to see a lady with a knee not quite being in the direction that it should be.
Mm-mm.
But I guess this was someone else that what's his name? Jeff, Hugh, Jeremy, Todd,
Greg.
John? No, the first guy, the blonde guy.
Oh yeah.
The guy that infects a girl who is definitely not Beth, but I want to call her Beth.
Well, Hugh, but I think that was a fake name they said afterwards, right? Like
Jeff. So I guess like Jeff banged her because we were just trying to wonder like how did it pass from him to the blonde star of the show who I really can't call Beth because I know that's not her name, but I want to because she looks like a Beth. And I guess this must have been like the last person he banged, but then he found out she died, so this is why he's after her. Anyway, it was confusing, but no, my kill of the week goes to Greg because he is warned, like he's aware of this shit from the beginning, and only because he is such a fucking dum-dum, his guard is completely down. He doesn't believe, like, despite the fact that he should know this thing exists, like she was shooting at it and he almost got killed. But no, he doesn't know anything. His guard isn't up. And this thing shows up in some like really hot naked lady in a t-shirt who I guess it's his mom or takes the form of his mom. Or at least he thinks it's his mom. And boy, we get to see some real incest action going on. She ends up knocking at the door, which, she can break down doors. We've seen her, but I guess like only cabin doors, like things that aren't necessarily owned.
Mm. Yeah, because it blasted a freaking hole in that door. So
yeah, but it ends up knocking on the door. Like it's a slow thing, so it can have moments of patience. So it just ends up knocking on the door. Greg opens the door, despite her yelling, "Do not open the friggin' door, Greg! Like get the hell out! It's here." But Greg's a dum-dum, and he gets what he deserves. Literally fucked to death. Because this thing jumps on him, rides him, and I guess sucks the life out of him through his ding-dong.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because we see the first body, like, on the beach, and, I'm like, okay, she obviously died from being mangled to death, it looks like.
Yeah, this thing, like, just brutally snaps and like, it fucking just, like, mangles you.
Yeah, but, like, Jeff wasn't mangled in that way, right? He looked like he died from being touched to death.
Like he ejaculated his life force or something. Like he just like shrivels up, turns blue, and what did he like melt or freeze or just wither?
I don't know. Like it was weird. Like it's again another inconsistency, but still at least like you actually saw that death Well, actually, you don't really see the death happen either. You see the thing like leap on him through the door, like just leap at him, and then next time you see, he's already dead on the floor with this thing like straddling him.
He just like turns blue.
Yeah,
and he like falls to the ground and like turns to the side and.
So I don't know, but
she sucks out his life force through his fun straw. So that's my kill of the week.
Yay! And I'm thinking like, oh, you got lots of kills, but you actually don't. So
no, we only get to see one death actually happen, while other deaths are, like they occur off screen.
Yeah.
And apparently, it doesn't die, despite the fact that we see it get shot in the head and completely fill an entire pool with its blood. I'm saying, like, in the movie, it looks like it's dead. It bled out that much. And we don't get to see anybody else get killed. Like, if we saw Paul get killed, then it would be like, all right, then we know that, it might have a sequel. Like, it still follows.
I still know what it followed last summer.
It knows who you did last summer.
Yeah. Okay, guys, that is It Follows. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I don't know if you watched the movie. What do I look like, your babysitter?
You know what? Listen to us. We tell you it's a good movie, so if it matters, you listen to it. Like, go watch the freaking thing.
But we're not experts, and people do have a different opinion than us, and that's fine. If you let us know what you thought of the movie, if you agree with us, if you disagree, if you have a movie suggestion for us, whatever the case is, we want to hear from you, and you've got some options for doing that. The easiest way, why did I say, Jesus, this is not the easiest way. This would be like literally be the hardest way to do it, because this requires the most work. You can email us. I think I meant to say the old-fashioned way. I keep meaning to say the old-fashioned way, and I keep saying the easiest way to do this.
If you're one of those people that just hates Facebook because you don't want the government having your private information, that really you control everything you put up there. But I've talked to people. I was on a date, and like she like hates Facebook, and I'm like, you can put up like the minimum amount of information just to use it to look at people and talk to them.
Yeah.
But she's like, no. And I'm like, you can also lie. Like, you can put up any information you want on there.
That went off on a tangent. But anyway, you can email us at graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. If you're not afraid of social media, you can follow us on Twitter at GYS_horrorpod or on Facebook at facebook.com/thegraveyardshiftpod. And if you're one of these lucky people that have so much money that you don't know what to do with, and you'd like to support some poor struggling podcasters, we can take some of that hard-earned money off your hand. You can make a donation to the show by going to Patreon, www.patreon.com/graveyard. You can make a donation to the show. It's just to help with the upkeep of the show, administration costs, promotional costs, and just as a little reward.
Legal defense fund.
That's coming. With you on the show, Mike, I guarantee you, sooner rather than later, that's going to be needed. But yeah, and we do give a little reward for our Patreon donors. You get access to some Patreon exclusive bonus content. Each month we make a Patreon exclusive episode, and you can go check that out there. Let us know what you think if you're a Patreon donor and you've been listening to these episodes. We like to switch it up a little bit. We do our episodes a little differently on Patreon. So let us know what you think, and you can check that out. And of course, we understand if you don't have the money to give us money, that's quite all right. You can still help us out a ton by going on to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe. In the long run, that actually does the most to help us out. But if you're not into the Apple thing, then you can still check us out on Stitcher, on Podbean, on Google Play when it decides that it wants to share our episodes, when it wants to share more than 2 of our episodes for some reason. I'm still not sure what's going on there. But you know what? If you're listening to us talk right now, then you already know how to find us. So just keep doing what you're doing, and if you feel so inclined, share us on your social media or just spread us by word of mouth. You can't spread us sexually, so don't try that.
But you can spread the word.
You can spread the word, while you're in the middle of it, just a little whisper in somebody's ear, the graveyard shift. That's all you need to do. But yeah, if you know anyone that would be interested, want to hear two idiots talk about horror movies, if that's your thing, or somebody that's their thing, let them know about our show. We really do appreciate it.
You can follow us on Twitter as long as you are not it.
That's it. And if you cannot get enough of Mike, you can hear him in another. I was going to say another form, but that wouldn't be right. I'm still thinking about the movie monster.
This isn't even my final form. You
can hear him on another
monkey.
show. Why don't you tell everyone about what else you got going on?
I am the host, one of the hosts of the Playing with Power podcast. We read each and every issue of Nintendo Power magazine, first to last, front to back, and we just talk about the magazine, what's inside of it, the effects it had on our youth, the games we enjoyed playing, the mailbag articles, the contests. We read everything, talk about it, rip on it, praise it. And we also go on deplorable tangents, but that could be the best / worst part, depending on how much you really wanted to hear about the magazine.
It's good stuff. If you are a fan of the old Nintendo Power magazine or old video games or just dirty humor,
if you go on Reddit, then you'll like our show.
Yeah, then you'll enjoy it. Three guys, Mike and his two co-hosts, are very funny. But now you're down to two co-hosts. I'm sad to hear. I'm going to actually miss hearing John on the show.
Yeah, he'll show up every now and then as a guest, kind of like herpes, like he's gone but not forever. But we may have to have auditions for a third host to complete the Triforce.
Oh, there you go. Hey, anyone listening that's want to try their hand at being a podcast host, maybe audition for Playing with Power podcast.
You think I'm awesome, you want to hang out with me, but you know that Sheldon's got all my time? Well, then there's a forum where I can be shared.
So check that out. We actually do share their episodes on our social media as well because it's a good show and they're a good bunch of guys. And it was kind of Playing with Power was kind of the catalyst that got this show started. So we're all friends. We share each other's stuff. So you can check that out there. And wow, guys, again, apologize. I have no idea how I sound. I could sound. I was going to say terrible, but I usually sound terrible anyway, so if I sound worse than usual, I apologize. Hopefully next week I'm going to be back to my version of normal. And we're going to have another movie. Are we going to... We've been kind of challenged by someone who was a past guest of the show. He has a YouTube channel. It's called Hey Internet, Eric's Here.
Eric here. If they type in that S, we don't know who they're going to get.
You could get the wrong channel, but yeah, he's challenged us to a movie which he says is the worst horror movie that he's ever seen. All right, I don't know if he said that, but he just said it's really bad. He couldn't make it through it, so he challenged us to watch it, and I think we should do that one.
Yeah, we've seen too many good movies. We need a palate cleanser just to know about the real refuse that's out there.
I think we should step up to the challenge. So we'll decide. We'll see. Maybe next time you'll find out if we did it or not. And speaking next time, until next time, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Mike.
And thank you again for joining us for the Sheldon is Very Sick edition of The Graveyard Shift.